This has been by far the most exhausting experience in my life. During this artistic trip, at times I felt I was lacking behind the machine. Other moments I felt that I was the one still in charge. But what's interesting, most of the time I had this sensation that the neural net and I were just one agent, working together, providing a completely new experience to an audience. My name is Albert Barqué-Duran. I'm a researcher and an artist. I've been raised here in Barcelona, but I'm based in London. My Artificial Muse is a project that we are presenting at Sónar+D in Barcelona. It's a 3-day performance where I'll be painting a huge mural painting using a really classical technique, which is oil painting. And the interesting thing is that I'm not the one deciding what I'm going to be painting. Instead, it's an artificial intelligence machine, an artificial neural network telling me what I'm going to be painting. The name of the project, My Artificial Muse, comes from this idea of what's a muse, where we can find a muse, because I think that it's a really classical concept in the art world. And we wanted to try to push a little bit the boundaries of that concept in the sense that we're trying to destroy this old concept. Can a muse that is computer generated be as inspirational as one that is a human-like one? If you try to simplify at the maximum level what it is a muse, you end up with thinking just in terms of a body, a human figure. And if you try to simplify that in visual terms, you end up with just a little stickman. So the only input that you are giving to the machine is this really simple stickman in a specific posture, as if it were a muse, and that's why we call it an artificial muse. And only from there, the neural net is capable of producing output. And during these last months, we've been giving the people the opportunity to vote for which artificial muse do they wanted to put in this neural net. People voted for one that is called Ophelia from John Everett, which is basically a human figure laying down. And that's exactly what we give as an input to the machine. And from that input, that's exactly what I'm going to be replicating during 3 days, in this 3 days performance at Sónar+D. So in a way, we wanted to completely change the roles in the sense that the machine is doing all the creative part of the whole project, and me as a human artist, I'm only the executor. So we're trying to put everything upside down in a sense. Well, as a researcher, I'm really interested in a field of research that it's called computational creativity, which basically means that we're trying to describe what it means creativity from a human perspective and translate it into the computational world. The day that I found what Mario was being able to produce with his algorithms, and that was the first time that I thought, wow.
I'm Mario Klingemann. I'm an artist and I work with data and algorithms and increasingly with neural networks and artificial intelligence to generate visuals that look like art. This is a project, a collaboration. I do it with Albert Barqué-Duran. So the computer generates a random pose, and the pose gets translated into something like a rudimentary proto-image. Some of them are more taken into account the overall setting, let's say landscape, room, or others are really more like a very blurry, blobby pose. Then in the next step, it can take one of those and run a step of style transfer over it, which produces something that looks like this. For example, definitely more expressionism, I guess. Last step that I call transenhancement, it takes this small image and tries to scale it up to the big format. And there's of course some difficulty in that, because it has to invent new information, because a single pixel suddenly can become 1,000 pixels or 200 by 200 pixels, depending on the size you want to do. So the model has to make up what is going on in that single pixel. And I did that by training it on blurry images, because if you have a blurred image, also a lot of information gets lost. So because it has seen so many examples of pairs of blurred and original images, it tried to make up its own mind, you could say, about what ways are there to turn a certain wake shape into something more concrete. And that's where it starts generating some interesting artifacts, which at least I have not seen them in a photo or a painting. They are these hybrids between something that looks painterly, but at the same time it has a machine character. I'm very interested in seeing like how this will transfer to that, like what will get added, what will stay, what gets lost. So, well, we will see in 3 days, right? Then it's done.
We are already thinking about next steps. I realized that music was the key element to keep me pushing during all those hours. So what if I can compose a specific sound or a musical note for every stroke I do, every movement I make, every color I paint? The idea is to add more dimensions into this creativity loop of who is inspiring who in this threesome between the stimuli, the machine, and the human being. Artistic and scientific dimensions. My artificial muse wants to evolve itself into something anti-disciplinary, an experience that is not a sum of a bunch of disciplines, but something entirely new.